What if we told you, itong kababayan natin didn't plan to retire in Spain, but it just happened?
After our Spain vlog, marami sa inyo nagtanong na, posible ba talaga mag-retire sa Spain?
Yeah.
So ginawa namin ni Haven, we sat down with our kababayan, si Kuya Robert, who came from the US na nag-retire sa Spain. So we'll be breaking down kung ano bang cost of living doon, how do you get the visa, and how does the healthcare system works.
So, yung unang tanong namin is, why of all places Spain?
Kasi usually, di ba, yung mga decision na ganyan, pinagpaplanuhan yan for years eh. Kasi that's a big decision eh, di ba?
Yeah.
Pero, yung storya nila, medyo iba.
Alam mo kasi yan, to begin with, no? It's just by chance. It was an accident. It was not really planned that way. I don't even think, in my case, meron akong plano mag-retire in a different country.
Yeah.
I mean, babiyahihin mo yung different countries, no? Pero to retire, I'm not very sure it crossed my mind.
By accident? Kaya nung naninig namin ni Haven yun, na paano tuloy kami? Wait, what?
Yun nga eh. Kasi normally, di ba, mga retirement, calculated moves yan eh. Or pinaplano.
Talagang pinagpaplanuhan yun, di ba?
Yeah, so talagang nagtaka kami.
One time, biyahe ng Europe, gusto namin pumunta doon sa Granada at saka Sevilla. Ang gateway kasi dyan is Malaga, Costa del Sol. Yun, hindi ko alam yung Malaga na yan. Hindi ko alam, wala akong, kilala ko si Picasso, pero hindi ko alam yung Malaga. Yun, hanggang sa nag-pandemic, then na-restrict yung aming opportunity to travel. Nag-apply kami ng residency.
So itong part, it really stood out to us.
Kasi sometimes it's not just having a perfect plan, di ba?
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the right moment.
Which is natuloy. Pero within those many trips, na-adjust na kami in Spanish life. At saka tayo, Pilipino tayo.
Dyan talaga nakaka-relate kami dyan. Especially ako. Kasi talaga mga Pilipino, di ba? Tayo, madali tayong maka-adjust.
Yun nga, kasi the traditions, especially yung mga family-oriented culture, yung mga language, di ba, familiar tayo dyan eh.
Oo.
Kasi, di ba, sa history natin, we were influenced, actually, we're conquered by Spain for more than 3 centuries. So, lahat ng yung mga tinuruan nila, we absorbed it, but sa Filipino way, right?
Oo, pati yung language na lang, di ba?
Language lang.
It was adapted sa Tagalog. Di ba?
Maraming Spanish
Oo.
words.
Kaya Spain is talagang madaling makaka-adapt ang mga Pilipino.
Madali. Tapos, we also asked him how to describe Spain to a couple who wants to retire there or have any places in mind for retirement.
Oo.
Tayo mga Amerikanong Pilipino, whether we like it or not, yung standard natin went up. United States of America did that because you know, corporate world, you be what you want to be, yung mga ganyan. A lot of Filipinos, I think, because ako, I'm one of them, years and years ago, Pilipinas, diyan magre-retire, ipon ka ng pera, sarap ng buhay, may katulong, so on and so on. But that becomes a myth because it's not reality anymore. Diba? Pagtanda mo, diba? Healthcare, pinag-uusapan natin yan. Okay, balik tayo sa Spain. Spain is it's not a third world country. It's yung transportation nila ron, gano'n, yung healthcare nila, okay. Which are, I believe, the things we need, no, when we retire.
Of course.
So in other words, madali lang yung semi-semi, half of the year doon ka, half the year dito. Total as a Filipino, nasa atin naman yung we have that liberty or opportunity na maging citizen or maging dual citizen, Spanish citizen. So, we don't have that restriction.
Yung linya na sinabi niya na everything that they need for retirement is there, parang tumatak talaga sa utak natin yun, no? Naisip tuloy namin ni Haven na a lot of Filipinos, including us na yun, talagang when they talk about retirement, ang unang iniisip, di ba, magre-retire sa Pilipinas. Kasi masarap ang buhay doon, masaya, and we call it home, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
And yung idea na yon, oh my God, parang ang sarap, di ba? Talagang yun yung parang perfect retirement sa lahat ng mga Pilipino.
But retirement changes the way you look at things. Like, instead of comfort, ang inisip mo naman ngayon is support. Kasi when you get older, the question isn't just where life is enjoyable.
And support doesn't mean only family, ha? Diyan papasok na yung healthcare system, transportation when you are not able to drive anymore. And yung system na you don't have to fight for, di ba?
Yeah.
Yun ang nag-stand out sa Spain. It's not perfect, ha?
And no country is.
Pero it looks like itong daily life sa Spain, looks like it's gonna keep working kahit na you're slowing down na. You don't have to hustle anymore, pero yung paligid mo, it's still working. Diba?
Yeah.
And kasi when you reach that stage, ang mas importante na yung stability eh.
Hindi lang saan mas masarap ang buhay.
Kundi kung saan magiging okay ka when
Yeah.
life gets harder.
Right. Well, because choosing a place is one thing, but being able to stay there legally, that's a whole different conversation. So after hearing why Spain is actually for them, ang next obvious question naman is, how do you actually stay there?
Because lifestyle, healthcare, and daily life, all that matters only if you're there legally.
So ito na nga, for retirees, the path most people look at is the non-lucrative visa, or it's called the NLV. But take note, this is not a working visa. So this visa is designed for people who can't support themselves and want to live there.
So we asked him to walk us through how this really works.
A non-lucrative is also a resident, but it's called temporary resident. Kasi may restriction yan na you can live in Spain, non-lucrative. Talk about non-lucrative. You're a resident, however, you're not allowed to work.
So for retirees, usually none.
Yan ang maganda. Maraming requisitos na dokumento na we're not familiar of. Namely, I'll give you an example. Let's say birth certificate. Sa atin, yung birth certificate natin, inauthorize lang, okay na no? Meron silang tinatawag na it has to be apostille. Kasi yan ang style sa Europe, European Union, yung apostille, in other words, hindi sila basta-basta nagtitiwala sa kung sinong notary. Kailangan may mag-a-apostille. So, yung mga ganon, hassle yun, hindi tayo sanay doon at the beginning. Background check mo, kailangan. Tapos the rest, pera. That's it.
So ganun pala, very structured yung process nila. Merong background check, merong
Mga documents.
documents, and you're required to show na you're financially capable of
Supporting financially.
supporting yourself financially.
Yan yung sines na yun.
Oo, so yun yung kailangan ipakita mo sa kanila.
Yeah.
And also for the first year, you're required to get a private insurance.
Requirement yun, di ba?
Requirement
Oo.
talaga yon. Pero I think like after the first year, you can get the public health insurance. Pero
Ano yun? Parang HMO? Parang dito?
parang ganun eh. Pero we're not gonna go into that.
No.
Mas masyadong detailed yun eh.
Yeah.
Pero sa first year, you really have to
Required ka.
have yung healthcare na
Private.
private.
Oo.
Pero at first, di ba, isipin mo, ang mahal, di ba? Kasi ang daming requirements eh. Pero come to think of it, parang ang Spain kasi, they make sure na yung mga retirees nila, they are prepared financially and health-wise. And then, there's the part that everyone asks about. How much is the cost that you really need to show?
Kumbaga, show money. Show me
the money.
Show me the money.
Ang NLV kasi, yung iba nahihirapan dahil dyan Yung NLV kasi, bibigyan ka muna ng 1 year. So, yung minimum requirement amount, yung 1 year. Tapos, nung pag-renew mo kasi, 2 years na. So, kailangan mo na ng 2 years the required amount.
Alam nyo, what helped us understand this better is knowing how the visa works over time.
American standard, yung requirement amount nila, no big deal.
Oo.
Yeah, hindi masyadong, I think, don't quote me because I don't know now. Nung panahon namin is like, kaming dalawa, 36,000 euro lang eh.
So yung first approval is for 1 year only. So this time, you only show 1 year's worth of money. So for a couple, it's 36,000 euros. So in US dollars, so parang mga 43,000 USD, diba? Yun. So pag nag-expire na yon, and then you apply again para mag-renew, you're given another 2 years. So, first is 1 year, tapos yung second time is 2 years. So, yung ika-second time mo mag-renew, kailangan magpakita ka ngayon ng 72,000 euros.
Larger talaga.
which is larger. And that's like approximately mga $86,000, di ba?
You can have passive income,
Right.
or like rent, yan, mga ganon, or pension, and then money in the bank.
You have to show na meron kang source
Oo.
na parang hindi ka pabigat sa...
Society.
That's exactly the general idea.
Yun yung kaya sinasabi ng iba na for the second year, you show more money. Yun yung requirement nila. And then that happens again pag after nung third year, magre-renew ka ulit, di ba? So, another 2 years yon. So, magpapakita ka ulit ng worth 2 years. So, another 72,000 euro, which is $86,000. So, parang pinapakita mo parati na every year, kaya mong tustusan yung mga yung gastos mo while,
Exactly.
living in Spain.
Yeah.
Hindi, kasi pag nag-retire ka sa US, parang ganun din yung gagastusin mo eh. For a couple, di ba?
Yeah. And by the way, if you're a Filipino citizen, it's usually what? After 2 years of,
Of residency.
legal residency,
Mhm.
you can already apply for
Citizenship.
Spanish citizenship.
So
Galing,
special,
no? Ang galing.
may special, treatment
I
ang
guess.
mga Filipinos.
Oo.
So the pathway is actually shorter than, most people think.
But even if the paperwork makes sense, and even if the pathway is clear, there's one question that really decides everything. And that is, can we actually afford to live there long term?
Being allowed to stay is one thing. Being able to afford to stay is another.
So let's talk about cost of living. And the first biggest expense is, of course, what? Housing.
So
Diba?
sabi ko sana rent. Okay, yeah, housing.
Housing, nagiging mahal na rin sa Spain, because nagkaroon sila ng maraming problema. Mas maraming gusto lumipat sa Spain compare sa tinatayo nilang building. Kasi I think the short story there, or short answer would be, yung mga investors doon sa real estate, nadala na sila nung bubble, no?
Yeah.
Talagang maraming nalugi. So anyway, yung right now, yung balance ng building at saka yung population, hindi, malaking problema na talaga. In which effect, ang housing nagiging mahal. Which is dito rin naman, California, no?
Yeah.
Example, kasi nakatira kami sa tabi ng dagat, penthouse, yung mga ganun. Hindi ka naman kailangan mag-ganon,
Pero kunyari,
It just so happened na na-tempuan lang namin yun, no?
Pero for like a regular couple,
Answer your question, comfortably,
yeah, comfortable.
hanggang ngayon makakakuha ka ng mga 2-bedroom doon, mga 1,000 euro, 1,200 euro. Depende kung saan, ha? Of course, alam mo naman real estate, location.
Pero-
Kung mga 30 minutes to 45 minutes away from the beach, let's say, okay sa'yo mag-bus o mag-train and all that, makakakuha ka ng 1,000, 1,200, disente na yun.
Wow. That's
Disente na yun. May parking ka na nun.
Wow.
Basta lumayo ka sa dagat, lumayo ka sa city center.
Yeah.
Dali-dali naman ang transport eh.
Kunyari, kami ni Hayden, gusto namin, pero one bedroom, meron bang mga 800? Kasi,
Oo, meron.
Oo.
Basta wag kayong tumira sa, yun na nga, yung city center.
So it just shows that it's similar to, everywhere naman talaga, di ba? If you want to live closer to the city,
Mas mahal.
mas mahal.
Oh.
Kung mas malayo ka, mas mura.
Mas mura.
Di ba?
Manila, Dumaguete.
Pero when you're actually living long-term sa isang place, mas preferred mo naman talaga yung di ba? Quiet, di ba? Yung quiet neighborhood. Parang kunyari sa LA, I'm sure ayaw mo tumira sa LA kasi masyadong magulo. Hindi man magulo pero very busy.
Busy
Di ba? Yung
masyado.
andun yung hustle and bustle. So, nasa suburbs tayo.
Yeah.
Yun. So, mas mura, di ba?
Mhm.
Yun. So, ganun lang yun eh. Pag turista ka, you want to be in the center. Kasi you want to be yung...
Where the action is.
Action is, di ba?
Aha.
Yung proximity mo sa mga lahat ng
Right.
mga bagay, yung mga places.
Pagdating sa general cost of living, like pagkain, lahat, quality of life, mas mura doon. Oo. Kasi, when we get old and when we retire, no? Or retirement age, or going towards retirement age, and I'm sure kayo, guru kayo dyan, you know that because that's what you preach, no? Yung how to retire, the joy of retirement or aging or something. yung outlook mo, nag-iiba na. Yan na yung chine-chase mo, no? Cost of living is important.
So after yung housing, he actually didn't go into details about yung mga groceries, yung mga other cost of living, groceries, yung mga utilities. And so what we did, kami ni Haven, nag-research kami about that one. So yun ang i-share namin sa inyo. So depending on your lifestyle, you could budget around parang mga 600 to 800 euros for a couple. So that translates to parang mga 800 to 950 US dollars. That's for food. That's balance na yon ng you cook at home and then you eat out also.
Yeah.
And if you're frugal, I'm sure mas mababa pa yung cost na yon, 'di ba? O, pero if you want like yung mga mahilig kayo sa mga premium, syempre mas tataas yun, magsa-skyrocket yung budget nyo. So depende nga talaga sa lifestyle.
Kung kami yun, wala, luto sa bahay. Every
Hoy,
day.
masarap naman ako magluto. Pag kunyari nag-Spain tayo, fresh lahat yun.
Paella na.
Boquerones.
Boquerones.
Mga pulpo.
Pulpo.
Tapos sa utilities naman, andyan yung
Water.
electricity, water, internet. I think kasama na rin yung mga trash doon. So, you could budget around parang mga 150 to 200 euros. So, that will translate to mga 180 to 240 US dollars. And then, kasama na rin pala doon yung cellphone. Kasi ang cellphone nun sa Spain, mura eh.
Tama.
Mura lang daw yun eh.
Yung cellphone pala.
So, for 2 cellphones 50 euros pang dalawahan na yun. Ganon kamura yung telepono sa Spain. And also remember, di ba minention nila na during the first year na meron kayong non-lucrative visa, you need to get a private insurance.
Right. Tapos ang isang requirement dyan na maraming nahihirapan is you are required to have a private medical insurance. It has to be private on the first year. Kami hanggang ngayon, tinuloy namin yung private. Kasi
Flexibility. Convenience of getting an appointment, mabilis.
Yes.
So, for a couple, di ba sabi nga ni Kuya Robert, it's like, sa kanila, 3,000 US dollars eh.
Yeah.
So, para mga 250 US dollars a month per couple. Sa euro naman, para mga 210 per couple. So, yun ang isama mo nyo sa budget. So, when you add up everything, ito yung lalabas, yung housing, andyan yung utilities, andyan yung food, andyan yung healthcare. So sa euro, it's going to cost you maybe around 2,400 euro. Tapos sa US dollars naman, parang mga 2,800 US dollars.
28? Oh. Okay. That's like average na ba?
Oo.
2,800
okay
is
yan.
like...
So just give and take yun, di ba? Siyempre, depende rin sa lifestyle.
Yeah.
So after nating tingnan lahat yung mga costs, yung mga housing, groceries, yung healthcare costs, you realize kasi na retirement is just not all about numbers.
It's all about what matters to you, diba? The life that you want to live, and also, syempre, the people that you care about.
And no matter kung saan ka man mag-retire, one thing doesn't change, yung pagiging Pinoy natin.
Yeah. May pamilya pa rin tayo sa Pilipinas, even though we're not obligated to send every month, at least we would want to share our blessings pa rin if we can.
Andyan yung for birthdays, maybe for emergencies, or maybe just because we want to send something, di ba?
Yeah.
Kaya for us personally, we use Tap Send pag nagpapadala kami ng pera. It's simple, direct, and we know exactly what we're sending them.
Kasi when you're planning retirement, fees really matter a lot.
Oo, every euro, every dollar matters. Nag-usapan nga namin ni Haven na sinasabi namin na retirement is not just, where life is good today, but it's about where life still works even if things get harder. Diyan na pumapasok yung healthcare nyo, di ba? Yung mga expenses na papasok, and also yung kasama na rin dyan yung mga if you need to support family back home, di ba?
Yun.
And we're also not saying na Spain is for everyone.
But it's also worth understanding your options.
Oo. So this part 1, pinag-usapan natin numbers. So yung part 2 naman,
Yung life nila sa Spain. Yung mga na-encounter nila, mga culture shock, yung, let's say, paano sila nag-adjust
Oo.
Yun.
Tsaka yung ano yung na-feel nila na they gained or
Yeah.
anything
or lost,
that
or something
they
gained
gave
on-
up. They gave up.
They gave up. But in order to see our part 2, we encourage you guys to
Like and subscribe. And we're excited na i-share namin yun sa inyo. So, thank you for joining us today and we'll see you in our next vlog.
Bye.
Bye! Not about, having a perfect plan.
And what?
Dali.
Priority mo nga ngayon is support. So, ito na nga. So, for
Ito na nga.